I'm going to try moving around a little bit, and hopefully this will pick me up. Okay, well, yeah, I'm Pritchard. I'm the product owner with Jade Platform, as it says above there. And I'm going to talk with you about release 2025 and beyond. The major release will be out this October, and the first service pack will be out in Q1 2026. But a little bit about myself first. I've been with Jade since 2023. I returned a couple of years after returning from the States, where I lived for 27 years. We came back during COVID, 3 MIQ. It was time to get out, and I'm happy we came back. When I left New Zealand in 1994, I was a librarian, trained librarian, and I quickly found work at a library software company in the Bay Area. And with the domain expertise, I started off in customer service, customer support, but they also had us doing interesting things like installs and upgrades, and that's where I cut my teeth on Unix and started getting interested in the tech side of things. A few years later on, I moved over to a different company where I did not have any domain expertise. It was a large-scale enterprise asset management product, and I started there again in tech support, customer support. But it was fine supporting the application, but the problem area where we really struggled was the back end. We didn't have the expertise in server architecture, client-server communications, memory management, all that kind of stuff. And for some reason, I decided that was interesting and gravitated towards that. And a few years later, I ended up on the development side of the house as a systems analyst with a small group of senior engineers who were working on that part of the system. And over the years, eventually became product owner there. Now back in Jade, well, not back in Jade, now that I'm in Jade, I find myself again out of in an area that's not my domain expertise, working with a great bunch of very smart people on a really interesting product that makes the hard seem simple. All right, so sorry about the blinding light, and it's probably coming off the top of my head. I think I'm going to be talking in Jade 25. I'm going to be covering some of these themes with you. The first one is how we're going to save you time in the IDE with large code bases. So next up will be a couple of language features that were the most highest voted on JEDI that many of you probably have voted for. The next three are about Jade integration with data ecosystems and other technology ecosystems. And then there's AskJ, which maybe some of you have heard about, and we're going to be releasing that in October, around October, so I want to talk a little bit about that as well. And the last one I'm not going to say anything about, that's just a teaser. All right. All right. So I know many of you, as developers, spend a lot of your time in the IDE, and probably you spend a lot of time wasting time when you don't want to be wasting time. We've got three new tools, new browsers to help you save you time and allow you to be more productive. So let's talk about each one. So, all right. I heard some chuckles. So imagine you're a developer and you're working in a large code base. Now, many of your products have been around for a long time, and I imagine your code bases are quite large. You probably maybe have thousands of methods, thousands more properties. And the relationship between them all becomes more and more complex over time. And what you do today when you're trying to find relationships is you start in one place and you look at references and you drill down and down, you explore. But very soon, you end up with a mess like this and probably far worse, but before you know it, you've lost where you are, you've lost your thread. And you get frustrated because you can't find, you're just mixed up now. Well, what if we made it like that? Okay. So what we're doing here is, this is the property updates browser, but the method call browser is very much the same principle. Basically, you can see everything represented when you a method of interest or a property of interest. You would see it represented in that pane over there. The thread is right there at a glance. You can drill down, expand, search, and then when you find something of interest, you click on it, and the context is displayed in the next window. And also the relevant lines of code are highlighted. In this case, this property is being updated 8 times. Each line, or actually, yeah, each line's about twice. So this really saves you a lot of time. For instance, when we tested out the prototype of this with our developers working on the large code bases in services, they told us that when they were working in this mess, that took them hours, and they would become frustrated and they'd feel really unproductive. When they did it this way, it took minutes. It's hours to minutes. Fabulous. All right. The related unit test browser. Now, again, working in a large code base perhaps, or in one that's been around a long time, there's probably parts of the code you don't go into for a very long time. But you want to understand, you're going to make a change in that area, and you want to see the code coverage before you start making changes. So here you can do it in a very focused way. So you can select your method and select an option to look for related tests, and it opens up the related test browser again in this window here, the bottom pane. And it displays every unit test that touches that method, whether it's directly on it or several steps removed. And you can follow, if you select any one of these, you can follow what logic that unit test is testing. Another beautiful thing is that you can run those tests right there, one or all of them. And you can also select the unit test of interest, and you can display it in the pane to the left and see what logic it's executing. So you understand what this part of the code is expected to do. And so you can go in and start making changes with assurance. First, you can run all your unit tests, make sure everything's A-OK. Start making your changes, and keep running your tests and making sure everything's still good. So you can make changes quicker with greater assurance. All right. Hands up who voted for the null conditional operator. Really? Yeah, okay, good. Switch statement. Interesting. Okay. Well, these were the two highest voted language features on Jedi. Null conditional operator was a clear first. I think John put that one in. Let's get into those. So here is a very simple example of how the null conditional operator can make things much simpler and cleaner in your code base. In the upper left, is how you would do it today. Basically, the code you're interested in executing is guarded by about 4 or 5 lines of if and end if statements. And it makes for a very cluttered and code base. And if you've got, a cluttered screen, and when you've got a large method, maybe lots of this stuff, it's just noise, and it's just harder to decipher what's going on. So, with the null conditional operator, as you all know how it works, really, I'm just explaining to people who know better than I do, you just can write the code that really is doing the function you're interested in, and you're protected against null reference exceptions right in line. So that's cleaner code, easier to understand, quicker to write, and easier to maintain. So the switch statement follows a similar principle. Up in the upper left, you have how you would do it today, stacks of else if statements. It could be much wider too if you're stringing together values with the or. With the switch, the way we're implementing the switch, we can compress a lot of that so that you have a nice and simple representation of the code. You can easily see, you can compress things onto one line. For instance, you've got 4 checks there that are now on one line. Quick and clean. Not everyone wants to do it, isn't interested in it, but it's there for you to use, and get into it. All right, we're going to change gear now. Sorry about the blinding light. I did advise Gray that white screens were going to blind people. So, enterprises are moving towards tiered API ecosystems. And that might be something like you see there on the side there in the diagram. Now, in those ecosystems, you want Jade to plug in as cleanly and efficiently as possible, because you're already plugging into a sophisticated architecture. Jade's not at the top, and it's not sitting directly behind a web server that the users are hitting. So Jade will be sitting at the core API level in this representation. Now, the API gateway and the tiers above it will be taking care of the work that would be traditionally done by a web server. But direct REST enables you to plug directly into these ecosystems without that extra layer. So it simplifies the complexity of deployment. But this isn't only a benefit for enterprises. It also makes it easier for you to develop your REST API applications on your laptop or your development environment, because you don't, again, need to configure a web server. And you don't need to configure Jade HTTP. Basically, you just turn on any switch in Jade Ini, and away you go. It's cleaner, simpler, and you can work faster. Playing nicely, along with that, we're in Jade 25. We're enabling binary payloads directly in band in the REST response. If you would have to do it today, you would post that payload in another location, a virtual directory, and the web service would have to go retrieve that. So that's an extra complexity, and you've got to accommodate that in your code. Now you don't. Playing nicely with all that is dynamic JSON. I think I heard reference to it earlier in the panel. There's times where you want a rigid match between your incoming JSON and your class definition, and if it doesn't match, you don't want it coming in. But there are instances where you want more flexibility. You've got your core definition, which matches your class, but you've got artifacts hanging off that don't match because of either because of the context, the message type, or other reasons. And that can be handled with dynamic JSON parsing. So you can ingest that JSON, match the stuff that matches the class is clearly mapped, and the other pieces are handled by the dynamic JSON parsing and passed into Jade dynamic objects, and those could be handled downstream in code. So it gives you flexibility. All right. .NET. Okay, this is just continuing our tradition. Jade Platform has always enabled the import of Microsoft component libraries, for instance, ActiveX and .NET Framework. Now, .NET Framework is no longer being enhanced by Microsoft, and .NET is the modern open source successor to it. And we want to keep being able to take advantage of what those products offer, what those ecosystems offer. And so in J25, we're enabling the ability to import the .NET component library alongside .NET Framework. Initially, in the first release, you'll be running with one or the other, but in the Surface Pack, we'll be doing some magic under the covers, so Jade will work out dynamically which set of component libraries you need to call, and depending on context. Okay. So extending Jade to participate in eventing architectures is core to our strategy. You've heard that mentioned more than once, I think, and Hugh will be talking about that a little later on. But I want to cover a few of the highlights that are coming out in 25 or alongside it. We're enabling higher throughput via this is going to be a simpler slide, but it's not. We're improving performance with higher throughput via multi-threading of the event stream producer. Before, you used to have multiple producers and you would get contention. And batching of events by topic into batch files to enable higher throughput at your hub level. We're enabling a bulk load capability where you can basically populate the current state. We can put the current state of your database on the event stream so that it can be consumed at the other end. This is useful for initially setting up, for instance, but also as your application evolves over time. Maybe your data model changes, there's other features that you're adding, and you want to repopulate the other end. And lastly, we're enabling health checks for the change data capture and event stream producer. That's what those acronyms mean. For change data capture, that's a native Jade application, so we're exposing that through API extensions in card schema. And the event stream producer, which sits outside of Jade, we can do it two ways. We can put health check information in its own event stream that you consume. And we're also pushing it to a REST endpoint that you would poll. The kind of data you'll be seeing is basically, am I alive? Throughput, number of errors since the last time you checked, number of dead letters. I think there's about 6 to 8 parameters that you can configure. Oh, I'm not going too slow? All right. Oh, yes, red light flashing. All right. Okay, my slide's not moving.
Press the button.
I am pressing the button.
We'll move it.
Oh, there we go. Jumping ahead to Ask Jay. This is your AI-powered developer assistant, and it happens to be your product owner assistant as well. It's great. It's helped me a lot. I use it most weeks. I ask it questions about things I don't understand, like what's an exposure, what's a package. It doesn't relate to me. I'm new. I'm still new, learning a lot. But basically, this is intended as a developer assistant, and it's built on an extensive all the Jade documentation. So that's the white papers, the current documentation, and other auxiliary documents, as well as code samples. And we've run tests. Sorry, I'm racing now. So, it's a lovely tool to use because it provides you things and answers in natural language. And you can also validate or follow references to the actual documentation where it's pulling that information from. We've used this with our new hires when they come on. We give them the developer course, Ask Jay, and we give them the challenge of you go through the course, ask as few questions of us as possible. And we've also run that with experiments with Amit and students from ARA, where we've brought them in, cloistered them away, and they've run much the same exercise. And that's helped us understand how it's used, where there's been problems, and we've been able to smooth those out. The good news about this is it's now going to be available for you around the same time as the release in October. I'm really excited to make that available to you. And lastly, I'm not going to say anything about this. Just hang around and you'll hear more. Right. Any questions? If not, just hit me up later. Or any other people wearing a Jade shirt?
Not me.
Except Marianne. So, yeah, I'm sorry I had to race through that, but let me know if you have any questions.
All right, well done.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.